This is Duke University.
Hello everyone, I'm an undergraduate in the Visual Media Studies department, and during the summer I took some art classes in London at a school called Central St. Martin's College of Art and Design, and I really wanted to kind of go for more of the approach of like teasing out what I want to do with my life. I also wanted to kind of take some courses to get some more experience. Producing art, as well as like something that will aid me in kind of my portfolio. And I also wanted to learn more about fashion because last semester in the spring I did an art project that you'll see a little later that is kind of related to fashion, so I wanted to explore that a little bit more. And so why I chose Central St. Martin's is, let's see, oops. Okay. Oh. Oh no.
Oh, there you go. It's the opposite of and you can use the keyboard to scroll up and down. So that's
Okay. Okay. So Central St. Martin's, they have produced a lot of great designers that I feel like kind of mesh art and more design together. For example, Hussein Chidlion. In the bottom corner there, he makes a lot of things that are very sculptural when he makes fashion, as well as Gareth Pugh. They really kind of recontextualize what it means to kind of wear clothing and stuff. So I felt like that was a good place to study and learn more about fashion if I wanted to do that. So that was a little bit of why I chose Central St. Martin and just the city of London, you know, being in a kind of very cosmopolitan, for the most part, city. And yeah, it was a good experience to go there. They have a lot of just galleries and museums, and that was helpful to be there. So the first course that I took was a week course in fashion. It was Introduction to Fashion Design. And we didn't actually like produce any like fashion objects. It was just really heavily research based, which I found was very interesting. We spent a lot of time looking at different images and just finding images to inform the things that we would produce if it was a longer course. This was only a week course, so we had class like every day from 10 to 4 for just 1 week. So it was just a very short 5-day kind of course, but I feel like it was very valuable in learning more about fashion industry, and it made me realize that I don't necessarily want to be a fashion designer. I think I'm more of an artist first, and then, you know, contemporary fashion includes a lot of artists who kind of collaborate with people who design full time, so I would be interested in doing that more so than being a designer. I felt like with being an artist, you can kind of have start a trajectory and follow it, whereas in fashion, you're kind of mostly concerned about, okay, what's new, you know, what can I do different than what I did last season and stuff. So to me, that was a little overwhelming, and learning about, you know, the consumer and advertising, just the whole businessy. I don't feel like I'm a very businessy kind of person, and that's heavily a great deal of, you know, we had to learn to think about, you know, if we were producing a line, do we have enough variety? So how many pants would we have in the line? How much would it cost? You know, do we have enough, you know, of variations in the kind of shapes and things that we're making? It was just like overload, like, oh man, I don't want to have to think about this like every season. It just seemed, so I think it was this course was helpful in letting me know that that's something that I don't want to do, which was helpful. So, but I still enjoyed and appreciated the experience. So we, like I said, what I also found interesting is that through the research, we actually had like we were forbidden to look at fashion images, so we spent a lot of time looking at a lot of different other kind of images like architecture and sculpture. So I really appreciated the fact that you know, designers, when they research, they use other things to inform, you know, how they make clothing, because a lot of times if you're just looking at other designers to inform your own process, you're just going to look like, you know, what someone else has made. So I enjoyed learning more about the fashion industry and what designers do. So that was that 1 week course. And then Okay. Next, I took a three-week course that was called Summer Study Abroad in Contemporary Fine Art Practice, which was a more experimental course, and it was taught by two artists who are practicing in London, which was very good in the fact that they could introduce us to the community of artists in London. Like we had a lot of artists, people practicing art in London and in the United Kingdom come in and give talks and talk about how they go about being an artist. Like the two people who were teaching the course, they teach to kind of support themselves, but they also do art. So I think having people who are actually practicing artists and are in the London and elsewhere art community was helpful in seeing, how do they go about kind of living in a place of passion and, loving art and not being kind of the starving artist. And so it was interesting to see that a lot of artists are they kind of support themselves in a different way. Like they have other ventures that kind of support their passions, whether that be teaching or, we met one guy who kind of creates more like these little kind of lawn dogs that he really doesn't like at all, like that much. Like the stuff that he does is very kind of experimental and out there, but he doesn't really get paid for that. So he kind of produces these very kitsch, very, very things that he doesn't really, that he said for a while, he didn't really tell his other art friends about and stuff. So I found that really interesting that he does this one thing that he's not really passionate about, but that's very commercially viable for him. And then he has this, other venture. So the instructors were really valuable in letting us know, like, what it looks like to kind of be an artist and stuff today. So the first assignment that we got was we were given like a photo. Each person had to pick an object out of a box, and the box that the item that I picked was like a photo. I don't have a picture of the photo, but it was like an old kind of. It looks like they got it from the thrift store, like an old photo of it was black and white of an alcohol and spirit store. And so we had to take some time and study the photo and then produce from that photo. And I focused mostly when I looked at the photo is just like the small things like the dust that was on the photo and, why do they call alcohol spirits, and what is that? Does that have any relationship to other contexts of that word spirits? So the art that I produced was very loosely based off of that idea, but I enjoyed kind of having the instructors say, okay, here I'm going to give you this, now make something off of it, because here at Duke my practice has just been like, okay, we have an assignment, but it's up to kind of me what I want to make and what I want to do and stuff. So on the left, my left, your right, yeah, those I was experimenting with a image maker, which is kind of like you put this kind of glue stuff on an image and then you pull the glue up once it dries, and it produces this kind of thin film and the image is on there. You could see it better if it wasn't okay. And so okay, and so whoa, oh. Oh.
Were these working for you before?
I think I was using the.
Yeah, I think it's just we're responding to it.
Okay. Yeah, so I produced a lot of these kind of image maker things, and I didn't know what necessarily to do with them, and figuring out a lot about how you kind of how you install them once you have a piece of art, changing the context. So I tried putting them on the wall, and then I kind of hung them using a table and see how that changes the context of, the meaning or what have you. This was just a short assignment that we did, and I think that's just another view of it. I really like the floating aspect of the forms or whatever, and I think it was really valuable to be with other students from different parts of the world. I was actually the only person from America there. We had a guy from Canada. We had, I think, like 5 students from different kind of Latin countries, and so people just from a lot of different places. And I appreciated that, when we had critiques of our artwork, they could say, okay, this looks like, X artist. You should really look at them to kind of take, your artwork to the next level. So I think that's something else that I really appreciate about the experience of that I had. The next assignment that we had, we learned about intervention art, which is artists who do things just like in the world. They don't really have permission to, kind of do whatever. It's oftentimes very simple ideas. Like we learned about one artist, I'm forgetting his name, but there was like kind of a brick road that looks much similar to the street there, and he took the bricks up kind of one by one over a long time. He took the bricks up and he would kind of engrave on the bottom of the brick the name of someone who had died, and he would replace it, back there. So that's like an intervention. He didn't have permission at all to do that, and no one really knew about it except for him and, the people who were a part of the project. So then we had to do some kind of intervention in the street that the school was on every day. I noticed that there were a lot of cigarette butts, and I wanted to do something with them. So, I spent maybe like 4 hours one day. It was so hot and so long, and trying to get up on this one smaller street, trying to get all of them up. It was actually felt a little bit more confrontational than I intended to be, because sometimes people were smoking there while I was like picking it up, So I felt like I was kind of like preaching at them or something, or it was just really awkward sometimes. Like you can see that picture there, I'm picking up stuff and there's like a group of people smoking, while I'm, and some people would still throw some down, while I was there. One guy came up to me and asked me what I was doing, and I was just like, oh, I'm just picking up cigarettes butts, and he was just like, you need a new hobby. And I was just like, okay, well, thank you, have a nice day, So I thought that was interesting. It almost felt like me actually picking them up was like a part of it was kind of performative. I didn't actually get to do anything with them because another student, her intervention art, they thought it was a bomb, so we ended early that day. Because seriously, we did, the police were called and stuff, so I didn't really get to think about, how I would present, the butts that I pick up, but that was a very interesting assignment that day. But I think I would like to explore more intervention art, because I don't know, it was interesting to do that. And so the last week that we were there, we had an assignment that I think was talking about space, or thinking about space. I wanted to look at what I had produced on that installation under the table and kind of make it bigger or larger. So the materials here are latex, so just pouring latex on different surfaces. I pour it on the ground or on the table, and then once you pull it up, it kind of scrunches together in a way that you can't really control, because the latex sticks with one another. So after doing that, I just had a bunch of kind of latex forms. One of them that was more square, I put it on like a chair that didn't have a seat in it, and I think at this stage I was just looking at the forms that I have and thinking about how they would be presented and how, to make them, presentable. Yes, so I think what was also interesting about the course is I guess I never really hadn't thought about so much like the way in which you present it and how that changes whatever context, because usually I was used to like painting on a canvas or a surface or something, but here they really challenged us to play around a lot with the different forms. So like this is one form I tried, sticking on the wall. How does that look? If I put it in this is like a circular wire and have it hang, do I like that more? So it was spent a lot of times really playing around with how to present objects. So for example, I had two different pieces. One is like a clear piece with horses in it, and that red piece was just by itself. So seeing if I combine them and how that changes the artwork itself, puts it in a totally different context. So I really liked playing around with the different figures and realizing that that's also a part of the art process is how you put it together. Then we spent like a crazy amount of time actually curating a show together, and I didn't realize how difficult that was. We had, I think there were 10 of us in the pro, so we each had a lot of different works. We wouldn't be able to put all of our works in, the space of our personal gallery, and also trying to figure out how to put them around the room so that, they all kind of cohere. It took so much time. You have 10 different minds with all wanting their work to kind of be seen and be in the premier place, but us trying to figure out how to make this work. So we spent a lot of time like putting stuff up and then taking it down and, saying, oh, well, this should go over here and that should go there or that should go somewhere else. So I guess I never thought about, usually sometimes artists, they just give their works to a museum or a gallery will ask for their work, and the curator has kind of the control over where it goes. And, we talked, one artist, the guy who came in to help us with curation, he was talking about a lot of times he'd have a certain artwork, and the way that it was kind of hung when he actually saw it, it was displeasing to him. So he was saying how sometimes, he doesn't necessarily agree with the statement that the museum or whatever chose to make. Like, I think back there on the wall, one girl, you can see him kind of on the ground too. She had these kind of landscape symmetrical things, and the curator that came in, he wanted to like put them with the vertical axis being the longest, and she was really upset by that because she was saying that wasn't really, her idea. She really wanted it to be a landscape. So we talked a lot about how to kind of keep the integrity of pieces of work, but also make it work so that the whole exhibition says something together. Let's see. So yeah, my pieces ended up, I think I chose 4 of them. So 2 of them were hanging in the center of the exhibition, of our exhibition space, which I really like because, when the wind came, they kind of turned and they kind of looked like these acrobatic things. And then the chair was in the corner, and then that thing was on a pillar on the wall. And then once we had this space, there was a big exhibition with all of the other students who took 3-week courses at Central St. Martin. So I really liked seeing other people's works, that they produce. Some people actually produce fashion objects. The top up there is people who are in the architectural program, the textile program, and that is our exhibition space and a classmate. Okay, so how did this relate to my interests? So I wanted to, these are works that I had done in the last year, actually, and I wanted to, so the bottom middle down there is what I was referring to earlier when I was saying it's kind of fashiony. So the top of it was like a turf kind of suit kind of thing, and the bottom were pants with rocks on them, and so I really liked kind of making art around the body, and so I wanted that was my thinking behind why I wanted to take the fashion course, to learn more about it. But also this right here it's a dress with feathers at the top and the bottom. I should have included a picture, but they're fishing wire. I think there were lots of maybe 300 fishing wire with each one had a feather attached to it at the bottom. And then here are just more paintings that I had done previously. So I wanted to kind of continue a trajectory or explore something different. I just wanted to look at what I had and see, you know, a program that would allow me to continue that or, you know, really explore more. And I think, too, also central before it was like, okay, you know, do I want to go to an art school? You know, should I go to a fashion school? Are there schools that let you do both? So I think my experience really helped me realizing, okay, I don't want to do fashion. But it also helped me saying, oh, yes, I definitely do want to go to art school because I really enjoyed a lot the 3-week program that we had. It was one of the best school experiences that I had. So I think that was really helpful for me, and it kind of gave me, so I feel like the stuff that I produced in that short period of time was kind of different than things that I had done already, but it's definitely something that I would want to explore further. And just the input of the teachers and stuff, I don't know, I feel like the place that I am at now after the program really is a good place to start, you know, something different or to continue to explore. And I really like that the program was more experimental. So, you know, not a lot of the people, you know, did kind of things that depicted anything or were really concerned about meaning. We just kind of did whatever, you know. Like the forms that I made didn't really have anything to say necessarily. Were just kind of aesthetic objects, and I liked that idea, or being free to kind of do things in that way. So any questions? Yeah.
So I like what you said about not being concerned about meaning and just doing things for the aesthetics or just to do them and see what happens. But I was wondering if you found, because it didn't seem like you expected to do anything performative, and you said it felt like it was performative when you picked up the cigarettes.
Right.
And it felt confrontational to you. Is that a type of art that you see yourself pursuing, or some value in that as well? Or was that uncomfortable?
It was definitely uncomfortable, but I think that made me like want to do it again because of that reason, because I'm like, why should it be uncomfortable? Like, I'm just picking up cigarettes, you know, I don't know these people, they're not going to come and like hit me or anything, you know, why is this so uncomfortable? So I think just that experience, even though the assignment wasn't to do a performance piece, it was definitely that for me, you know, especially when that man came over to me. I really like the idea of doing art without permission, you know, and just doing something. So a lot of the intervention artists, they just do stuff places, you know. Sometimes they might have to face whatever ramifications if they, you know, mess up any infrastructures. My piece wasn't necessarily adding something to the land, it was more of a taking away, but I still I like the fact of taking whatever is already there in the world per se and just saying, okay, I'm going to do this here, or I'm going to, you know, pick up some rocks and write on them and put them back down for my art. So I really want to explore intervention art and performance art more, because I think, for me at least, there was a certain kind of, toward the end of the day, at first it was a little bit uncomfortable, but after being out there for 5 hours, there was a certain kind of, you know, freedom of, okay, whatever, I'm just out here. Yeah, people are standing there smoking and looking at me, but it's okay. But I like that, the process being a part of the actual art and stuff.
Along the same lines of performance, I was wondering, so how was the experience exactly? Did you use your hands and bend down to pick, or did you have some equipments like they would usually use when they pick up cigarettes?
I had gloves in my hands.
And did your impression of that street of London, like, was there any difference after you finished it?
Oh,
like the way you
yes.
looked at it or the way you felt related to it?
Yeah, it was a very, very small street. Like, it was probably from one end of this room to a little bit bigger than, it was a very, very small street, and I didn't even get all of them, and I was out there like all day. Like, there were so many, so many out there, and the process during me, you know, cleaning them up, I took an hour lunch, and then I came back, and there were many more, you know. So it was just really interesting that Yeah, there were so many. I originally planned to do, that street and maybe another street, but, I was out there all day and I didn't even get all of them on that one street. So, and just doing a little research for thinking about how I would present them, I found out that cigarette butts are the most numerous litter, in the world. So I think it made me think about, well, what are better ways to kind of dispose of them, and stuff. No. I just continued smoking their cigarettes and looked at me strange.
You mentioned the process of curating as a museum. Would you consider working in a museum, or is it kind of like fashion where you just don't want to deal with all of the headache with it?
I think it was more enjoyable than me learning about all the business of fashion. Like I liked curating. I really did. I liked actually looking at the work of my classmates and being like, so what is that saying? And if I put this next to this person's works, how does that change the meaning? So actually, it was difficult. I didn't expect it to be that difficult, and it was very time consuming. But it made me think about like how curating is really, really important. Like just the different ways that we had all the spaces, it made, just one minor change made a work look totally different. Some works might have went unnoticed or might not shine as well if we had made different choices. So I definitely would want to do, that again.
Yeah, did you have another question? Yeah, you good? Okay. Anyone else? I guess for me, I just have an observation. I thought it was interesting when you showed the works that you had done in the past. To me, what stuck out is there's this sort of common inspiration from nature. Maybe if you can go back to that slide. So you have this sort of raccoonish-like thing, and then sort of like a... in the top left is sort of like a moon and shooting stars or something, and the feathers, and then what did you call it? The turf. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. Turf and the stones of the pants, and then the work that you were doing in London was very synthetic. You're working with latex,
right.
And then in between, I sort of saw your cigarette intervention as sort of bringing the two together in a way where the cigarettes, although they themselves are these synthetic objects, and somebody might know, but I heard that cigarette butts take forever to decompose, if they do at all. I don't know, but yet they were found in. It was almost like they were part of the natural environment of that street. So I just was an observation. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why. That's a good observation. Yeah, I think even though the materials here are very synthetic, such as paint or turf, I'm not using real kind of natural things. It's still that impetus to make them kind of say something about nature or to represent something in nature. But the forms that I made, even though they were out of latex, to me some of them reminded me of coral reefs or something very natural forms, just in the way they were kind of flowy and crinkly and crunchy. I wish I had better words, but so yeah, I think
I'm just thinking about how you're thinking about, your trajectory, but at the same time branching out and trying new things,
right.
And how do you create, a consistent trajectory,
right?
But at the same time, bring new perspectives, so that your trajectory is evolving, and not
that's
static.
A good connection, because I think that's something also that I was looking at, the stuff that I made over the summer doesn't really speak to that much anything that I've done, I think that's they're not so much different. I think that is an important link there. So
anyone else have any other questions or comments, observations? Yep, Ashley.
So when you were deciding about which kind of intervention ad to do, what made you decide to actually pick up cigarettes?
Well, the the person that we learned about, the intervention artist that spoke to me the most, that I liked the most when we had that lecture that day, it was a woman who kind of she went to a store and she went in the fitting room and she like sewed. That doesn't sound right, but sewed.
She sewed.
Okay, she sewed a message like inside the pocket, and so that was her artwork, and that was just like that one, and she didn't know who's gonna buy it. You know, I guess she still doesn't even know who bought it or if they ever noticed it. And it was just kind of like a friendly message. So I like the idea of like doing something, I guess, positive almost, or that kind of, you know, I thought that was really cute, and I was like, oh, if they see that, that'll make them feel good, you know. And the cigarette butts was something that I saw every single day, you know, and I was noticing like, man, there are just so many everywhere. So I was thinking about it. It made me think about, you know, just the people who like clean up the city and how those things go unnoticed and stuff. And so I just wanted to kind of be a part of that process of going unnoticed, but I was noticed and cleaning and stuff like that. I really don't know why. It's just that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you all very much again. I guess there's one last comment I want to make about everybody, which I just thought this was some of the folks here don't know this, but Jodi was born in Kenya. Albert was born in China and then moved to Canada. Ash Girl, as she mentioned, is from Zimbabwe. And Jodi had never left the country before her trip to London. Yes. So I'm glad now that everyone has had this kind of international experience. I'm always, you know, encouraging people to sort of expand their horizons, not just intellectually on the ground here at the university, but also across the globe. So thank you everyone for coming and sticking around so long, and thank you guys for presenting.
Produced by Duke University, online at duke.edu.